up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Hope you can hear me well. I have my headphones on. Hope you can actually hear me well. What I want to dive into today is negative emotions as the gateway to higher states of consciousness. I also want to talk about the contrast between your lower self and your higher self. Now, negative emotions are there, and it's usually they usually I think they happen in the first three chakras, into the sacral, into the solar plexus, and into the first chakra. And these chakras are actually related to survival, to chasing stuff, to emotion actually. So the first three chakras are related to these things, and we have to purge these emotions in order to live a happy life, in order to live a balanced life. And I want to talk about the contrast between the positive and the negative. So it's like when you feel a negative emotions, it means that you are either purging that negative emotion, or when you are feeling a negative emotion, it means that you are out of alignment with your higher self, with your divine self. Now, there is also a time to feel negative emotions. And I realized that whenever you feel pain, you actually release stuff. Now, in my journey, I have been faced with a lot of negative emotions, with crisis, with something called the dark night of the soul. And at this time, at this point in time, I'm still recovering from that, which is a positive thing. Now, negative emotion is there in order to teach you something about yourself. A negative emotion is there in order for you to realize what you are scared about, what you are not allowing yourself to feel. And one good way to actually transcend these negative emotions is to actually have patience, is to actually become aware of your emotional body, is to actually become aware of your beliefs, is to actually become aware of your thought patterns. Okay, so there is contrast between the positive and negative, but they also say that the positive and the negative are two sides of the same coin. That means that a negative situation, a negative event, a negative emotion actually shows you everything that you need to learn about yourself. Now, if you are finding yourself in resistance to these negative emotions, if you find that you can't express yourself while feeling negative, also shift your mindset into also accepting resistance. This is super powerful. This is a great tool that I have discovered, and this has actually led me into loving myself even more. So if I have resistance towards something, I have to choose between two things. I either accept that resistance and actually love myself unconditionally and allow myself to feel that emotion, or I change the situation, I change the external situation and the internal situation by actually changing that negative emotion. Okay, so it's like you can avoid feeling uncomfortable, or you can accept feeling uncomfortable. And in this life, there is also a time for negative stuff. There is also a time where you can actually transcend your negative emotions. So the negative emotion only shows you the other side, because I always talk in my videos about the law of polarity. So everything is like dual, everything has its own opposite. And this works actually also into emotion. Emotion always has its opposite. It's like you either feel positive or you either feel negative. But when you accept that you feel negative, when you actually love yourself in the process, you can actually transcend and go beyond that negative emotion. So, into achieving a higher state of consciousness, I believe that you must find a match with these spiritual concepts. You must find the knowledge that resonates with you. Now, these negative emotions are not good or bad. They are just there. in my experience, I have felt again a lot of negative emotions, and maybe that was related to some karma of mine, that was related to some negative events that I chose to accept, that was related to my negative ways of expressing myself. But in this period of time on the planet, we are clearing negative emotions, we are going beyond negative emotions, and we are actually to actually accept ourselves. So the purpose of my message is actually to love yourself, to accept yourself, and to understand your thought patterns, to understand your identifications with anything that you choose to identify yourself with. Now, maybe a negative emotion is also related to the ego. And the ego is not a good or a bad thing. The ego is just there in order for you to actually make the difference between that divine guidance and that third dimensional and separation guidance which comes from your ego. In order to transcend these negative emotions, you must learn to accept them and to actually create a space in your own consciousness where you can actually begin to realize that a negative emotion shows you the contrast between positive and negative. So if you are feeling negative, if you are feeling that you are in a crisis, realize that this is a gateway for you to actually experience light, kindness, opportunities, abundance, anything. Okay, so today's message was the fact that you should actually also accept the negative emotion. You should have compassion with yourself. If you feel like you are wanting to resist a negative emotion, that may also be okay, because with time you will learn to accept all kind of belief systems, you will learn to accept all kind of situation, and in accepting a negative emotion or in experiencing a negative emotion, you will actually learn a lot about yourself. So, guys, we live in amazing times. We live in times where the planet is actually expanding itself, it is actually awakening itself. And I'm here to share this message in order for you to grasp on and actually be a match to whatever self you want to become, to whatever actions you want to take, to whatever inspiring ways that you want to create your own reality. So thank you for watching, and like always, see you on whatever is coming up next. I really enjoy doing these videos, and those who are watching, really thank you, and see you on what's coming up next, guys. Peace and love, and see you. Take care of yourself. This is a time to actually look for introspection. This is a time to actually look at yourself with kindness and love and peace. Thank you for watching, and see you on whatever is coming up next. Ciao.